Ooh, that lighting needs some fixing. Let's try that. It looks kind of okay. I'm also noticing that the layout for the stream is all kinds of wonky, but oh, that's right, because I didn't fix it from last time. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the lab. It has been quite some time now. So need to kind of catch up a little bit. Oh man, it has been such a while. I'm pretty sure it has been before Christmas, I think. So wanted to get back to it. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, to say the least. Phoenix, thanks so much for stopping by, mate. Welcome to the lab. How you doing? As I slowly catch up, I'm on the tail end of being sick, which seems to be a common theme at this point. So I may have a couple moments here and there where I kind of go out of it a little bit, but and God knows I'm expecting all of this to be a little wonky. But yeah, wanted to start the stream by kind of catching people up on what's going on and talk a little bit about where we are with the bot and so forth. So I think it was prior to Christmas. So Christmas was very very interesting. Had a couple scares, which was fun. But and then after shortly after that, I ended up changing jobs again. So I'm now at a new place. The new place is bloody fantastic. To the point of I've been saying that this is probably the happiest that I've been in my career in a very long time. So it is, but it has also been insanely busy. Hence why I haven't really been around much. I haven't been participating in chat as much. It has just been a very busy time, like start to finish. Start of day to finish of day, kind of busy. So I've not really had the mental capacity so much for streaming, but gonna finally get back to it. Rock Raid, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. How you doing, mate? I am indeed all right. I am alive. I am well for the most part. Well, at the moment I am unwell, but that will not keep me down. You can't keep me down. So yeah, new job has basically eaten up the majority of my time and my mental energy, which I am adoring. It has been fantastic. Jabata, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. How you doing? So getting say something only the real Medj can know, so I know you are not a robot replacement. What we should be doing instead of drinking coffee and trying to speak in energized tones is that we should be enjoying a delicious cup of organic jade leaf Japanese matcha. Because there is no better way to start the day, in the day, or just get through the day than with the delicious organic matcha taste of jade leaf. If anything, I'm pretty sure that just proves that I am a robot. This is true. This is true. Also, welcome, Sorcerer. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. How you doing? Yes, it is true. I am a robot. Twitch just asked me to agree to my own chat terms. Very, very good. You know, you don't necessarily have to be a robot expert to know. But A highly advanced model. Wow. When did I get upgraded? Prior to today, I was just a hunk of garbage. Somebody check if it's actually sorcery. Oh, me. Alrighty. Let me get the code screen up. Oop. Here we go. Alrighty. Recap. Partially for me, to be perfectly honest, but also just to kind of realign and figure out where we are and figure out where we're going. And what is this? Bitwarden Free Password Manager has an update. Always keep your password managers up to date, everybody. So the last feature that we were working on was on-screen features, which in a nutshell is kind of a gateway. The on-screen features kind of set the stage for a number of, shall we say, feature replacements that I currently depend on. And yes, I could just go and use an existing tool. I have been watching the new tools that Sorcery's been using as I try to catch up on some of her VODs, and it is absolutely the path of least resistance to, just use one of those. But where's the fun in that? So in terms of, I'm just watching what's happening in chat. Oh my. So in terms of being able to enable those features, we needed to have on-screen functionality. And the on-screen functionality kind of started with a little HTTP server, which we have our own little custom server. You come down here, pop over into that. This would be this one. So we've got our server. Our server has some routes, and our routes serve HTTP stuff. Bleh. Thank you for the lurk, Sorcery. Enjoy. I won't finish that sentence, but enjoy. Let's see here. And then in terms of... Oops, I need this one. In terms of the general setup, it's an endpoint to serve the HTML, and then it's another endpoint to serve effectively JSON data. And the way that this more or less works is we first send down a HTML template. This is basically required so that OBS can connect and use it, I think. Yeah, it's basically required, purely because of this part. And then what this HTML document does is it kicks off a long poller. And then that long poller fetches the content that it requires and then sets the inner HTML, and off we go. And this works from a proof of concept perspective. This works. The thing that we had not done, English hard. This is why I'm learning Japanese. The thing that we had not done is hook into a metrics store, which is basically getting into some of the features that we wanted to put onto the screen. So this would be the last subscriber, last bits tracker. Potentially was thinking about doing a subscriber only raffle. Have to be kind of careful about that one though. On-stream polls, replacing the alert box, potentially replacing the chat box. That one's going to be a little rough, but we'll see. So on and so forth. Yeah. So that's a lot. That's a lot. There's a lot there. But before we get into any of that, I think there's some work that needs to be done. Always nice to see native speakers struggling with temporal forms. The reality is that no matter how hard I try, no matter how much I attempt to slow myself down, the Southerner in me comes out, and Southerners have a couple of habits. Number one, we speak very quickly. Number two, well, that's not technically true. I would say that the Southerners around me speak very quickly. Some of them are very slow and very methodical. I am not that individual. But that kind of slips out every once in a while. But my brain is trying to train itself to be slower. And so I end up slurring, basically. And then I get all the questions about Medj. Why are you drinking at 7:30 in the morning? And honestly, I never have an answer for them. All I can really say is... And someone once said they would like to fall asleep to my voice. I'm not going to tell that story. Anyway, so in terms of the code, I've not done an audit of the code in a little while now. I'd say that the code for the most part was pretty good. Details rock. Yes, so this was one thing. This needs to be we can just call this PL. So just come down here, do a cheeky replace, file ledger. It is now just a ledger. It is not necessarily a file ledger. That was one thing that we did end up doing in the last stream. Yeah. We've got a persistable ledger now instead of a very explicit, like a ledger for the greeter. This is now a little bit more generic, but I would go so far as to say that it may or may not be, well, it may or may not be the most applicable. We'll have to see. So that's a thing. Let's come back to main. So at the moment, there was a recommendation that I received a little while ago. Number one was to condense my configuration. And number two was to move the initialization around into more or less the command form. Spoiler alert, I'm not convinced by this, but Golang CMD package structure. Standard project layout. Here we go. Yes. So we're back to the whole Go standards thing. And more or less the TLDR is that this is a recommendation. This is a recommended package structure for the application. And I always kind of have a little bit of a chuckle when it comes to package structures because, yeah, they attempt to be very much a one-size-fits-all. Very rarely do they. But the TLDR is that we have a CMD package, which is the main applications for this project. So this would be if I wanted to have different entry points. Say I could have an entry point that is pure flags. I could have another entry point that is pure config YAML, etc., etc. I was intrigued by this idea. I wasn't entirely sure if I agreed with it. Internal, I just don't agree with. I'll be blunt. I don't agree with this. Package, vendor, and then you've got things like API for OpenAPI Swagger specs, JSON schema files, protocol definitions. This I kind of sort of agree with. kind of, in some capacity. Web-specific components in web, that I definitely agree with. Definitely. Yeah, like there's a lot here. Like a lot here. Directories you shouldn't have. Source. Now that I agree with. Sorry, Java. So. I forget where I was going with that. So that was one recommendation. Let's see here. Let me come back over to here. Let's take a look. See. Also mentioned an external ignore file, which would be fair, all things considered. Grabbing expiration time from config, which definitely makes sense. Which, by the way, in case anybody is curious why I'm not working on features today, number one, I have a hard stop, rough about 9 o'clock. But number two, I'm kind of getting myself reacquainted with the code because it's been a minute. Yeah, a lot of this type of stuff where we are grabbing data from config, grabbing config from config, details. A lot of that, it was mentioned that I should probably have a config package. And then the TLDR was, do I create a new entry point? So do I have a CMD flags and CMD YAML? I like having a main.go, not gonna lie. So, what do you guys think? As we're looking at the code, as we're preparing for what will eventually be the feature work that we want to do. And I think converting the refreshing view to WebSockets is probably the first thing that I want to do. But before we get there, I'd like to do a little bit of cleanup. What you think? Let's see here. Get status. Let's do a get checkout. Let's call it, yeah. It's not technically spring cleaning. It's January, but then there was also the bot. There was something in the bot. Where's my notes? Of course, I didn't put it in the Trello board because that would make way too much sense. Trace outbound. Yeah, because I think there was a back and forth about logging. Config YAML with a parameter for the bot for where to find it with the default set to config YAML. That is more or less how Viper does it. Come down here. Yeah, there we go. Although technically, I think that so we're kind of setting the convention of config YAML is the name of the file, and then add config path for current directory. And we're basically saying that in order for the config file to work, it needs to be in the same folder as the code or the binary, which works in either case. So in our case, that would be, boop. That would be the root of the project. Does Go not have a Javadoc equivalent? Javadoc equivalent as in the, well, let's see here. Boop. So the short answer for Javadoc specifically, no. I mean, they do have block comments for something like this. That is a thing. I think that's a thing in most languages. But no, they do not have Javadoc style comments. Go basically looked at Javadoc comments, said that's silly, and built documentation around just standard comments. Yeah, which I wonder what would happen. Kind of curious. Golang generate project documentation. It's like godoc. Godoc HTML. No, I don't want to do that. Godoc. Godoc-HTTP 6060. Yeah, now I'm curious. Aw. Aw. No? I forget how to do it. I mean, things like parameter specification, return specification, implementation details, throws documentation. Yes, so they basically do that for you, in a nutshell. Although, let me pull up the actual thing. Where's the thing? Golang documentation. Feel dry bones. How y'all doing? Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. Go doc. Yes. We need to go to package to go to dev. Such about. That's not what I want. Guidelines for writing documentation. Here it is. It was written in 2011. Yes. There's a whole thing. Like, it's a whole thing. I'm not gonna lie, it's really good. Let's see here. So for example, if I write an API, how can I let my consumers know in a clean way that null is not allowed as a parameter? Put it in the comment. More or less. I'm trying to find an example for you. I'm just struggle bussing at the moment. Let's see here. Gorilla, WebSocket, Godoc. Where are you? There you are. Boop. Hello, Tilly. Oh my goodness. So there's some places, for example, Gorilla Mux, which will do something like this. So whenever you put a comment over an exported field, it shows up in the Godoc, which is a HTML document that the Go tool will generate for you. I'm just struggle bussing at the moment. So what it'll do is it'll give you a full readout of the function, yada yada, and then whatever is commented over the function gets generated as part of that Godoc. So unfortunately for something like Gorilla's kind of shite, it seems. Yeah, that's pretty shite, not gonna lie. Let's go somewhere else. Gorilla WebSocket. Embihur, I think that one was a good one. Yeah, there we go. And then down here we've got a bunch of other things that are basically a lot more detailed. So these comments can be as detailed or as not detailed as you feel you need it to be. Yeah. It's basically, think of it as like if JavaDoc allowed you to just write. So you could structure it the way that you wanted, you could format it the way that you wanted, but then there was a tool sitting behind it that would turn it into pretty HTML pages. That's the TLDR. We went down a rabbit hole here, but I kind of like Go's doc tool, so I don't mind. And then of course Doge. Wow. Well, that sucks, Dry Bones. Although at the same time, I've been told by a couple of people that nightmares can help reorient. I struggle to use that term, but kind of keep us in check. Remind us that shit can hit the fan. Rich text tags? Yeah. I'll be honest, I was never really a fan of the tags part of JavaDoc. I know why they did it, and it was very clever why they did it. And the resulting documentation can be very pretty. I just wasn't a fan because I'm not a fan of any tool that requires me to use an IDE like feature to do something like document my code. It's just yeah. Do you get the sense for how I feel about it? Let's see here. Alrighty, so that was a bit of a rabbit hole, but hey, let's have the fun of this thing, right? We just get to go on tangents and talk about shit. That's something that I just a random thought that I just had. So I was also experimenting with the idea of what if I introduced, say, GraphQL. The problem is that if I introduce GraphQL, then the web application would have to be a lot more smart, I think. I'm pretty sure. So I guess it doesn't have to be smart, but the JavaScript required would have to be a lot smarter. Yeah. We updated our static code analysis and it now enforces fully qualified names for C comments. We got like 1,000 new errors. Oh my god. That I'm not a fan of, not gonna lie. But it is kind of handy if you have a tool that that can read JavaDoc and you can use GoToDefinition. Like, that is actually pretty legit. This is all gibberish to me, but someone is understanding it, so I'm just kind of here. Well, I appreciate you being here, Drybones. At any point, if you want me to attempt to say something in, more plain English, I speak code, not English. What can I say? What every IDE does, can Vim? It can. Vim plus the JDT language server. Basically, anything that uses the LSP protocol is just like that. That to me is just the standard way of doing IDEs these days. And as long as it has an LSP, which every major language does, Vim can handle it. And for those that it can't, you have uComplete.me and C tags. I'm good, you do you? That I can do. I'd like to think that I can do that very well, but I have doubts sometimes. Let's see here. Bot, event, chats, client. There was something that I wanted to do to simplify the chat client, if I remember correctly. Or not chat, but I think it was just the like message handler, something like that. Or I think it was the logging handler. Anyway, again, I'm just kind of getting myself reacclimated to the code while you all just stare and watch me gibber about who knows what. Bits event. So there was a to-do here to store that bits event somewhere, but obviously we don't have our metric store. Did we even start on the metric store? We didn't. Right. And we didn't mostly because... Oh, right. We didn't because we were still trying to figure out if we were going to reuse the ledger or not. Okay, so I really want to look at this. Generate doc. I want to know how to do this because I forget. Yes, run and share, formatter, and do the thing. Yada yada yada. Yeah, okay. You can create one with the GoDoc tool. Which the GoDoc tool, I believe, has to be installed. I think. So this would be something like so. but we don't have that, so go get Go docs. Package Go docs is not in Go root. Yeah, that's why I want you to go get it. All right, because it's not Go docs, it's fucking it's a full page. It's this. Yeah. I'm done. Leave me alone. Is it just golang.org xtools da 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 da? I think so. Boop. Go doc. Give me that Go doc. I don't know what that was. Now if we do make docs. Oh. Color me curious. It's not like I've used this command 500,000 times. Where you at? Yeah. Oh, I don't have CD Go. My dot files are screwed. Huh. Actually, let's just do an ls. Go path. What is it? Bin. Go doc. Echo path. User local go. User local. Oh. Oh. Okay. Give me just a second. My path is all kinds of screwed up right now. What happened? Home code go. Export path equals path. Go path. Bin. There we go. Something screwy has happened. All right, and so now if we go to localhost 6060 package, it has all the package, like all the package, for all the stuff that we currently depend on. But here's Mejbot. We don't have very good documentation. Using Git for like 5 years, and I'm still a baby with it. You and I think everybody, like me included. I've had a lot of practice with it. I think this will be my 8th year now. But I'm still like stopping and going, wait, am I about to rebase? Like, wait, do I really want to rebase? Is there something better to do than just git stash, git checkout, come back to my branch, git merge? Like, I keep doing that. Old habits die hard. Okay. So we have a little bit of documentation. Like a tiny little bit. Oh, there's documentation for the ledger. Holy shit. Yeah. In-memory cache backed by a file ledger. File ledger that persists. Yeah. Cool. See? I didn't even have to do anything. I was just writing comments. Anyway. Alright, so now that's a thing. So we're gonna close that out. We're going to make sure that that's a thing and pop into the make file. We're going to make sure that that's a thing by doing the thing. Make docs. I might add a little bit. Nah, it's not bad. But what we can also do is we can make the make file do a little bit of work for us. And we can say echo Docs opening at HTTP localhost 6060. Make docs. Allow. And then if you have a shell like ZSH, it allows you to do that. Boop. Majestic. I'm a big fan of makefiles. Just put that out there. Let's add the makefile. And the ledger persistable. I think I want to check out the go.mod and go.sum because I don't think I necessarily need godoc to be in my project path. I don't think. Git commit, add docs target for make, and fix naming in ledger. So that is cleaning. More cleaning. More cleaning. Let's check out the README. This is something that I recommend everybody do every once in a while. Audit your bloody READMEs. Because by God, do they go out of sync so fast. My colleague's writing doc. This method does X. Full stop. Me writing docs. Once upon a time, there was a method that accepted no nulls. Dun dun dun. I've been doing, so my new gig is in Python, which is a very interesting twist for me. And I'm actually enjoying it, not gonna lie. Not as much as I enjoy Go, but I am enjoying it. And I've been reading a lot of best practices and anti-patterns, just doing a lot of exercises with Python, so on and so forth. And I'm trying to remember, one of the anti-patterns was like multiple returns and this whole idea of none. And oh my goodness, did my brain start to twist. Ooh, thank you, Fuel. Oh, that was a good stretch. I always find the prospect of getting hired for a language you've never used peculiar. You didn't get hired as a junior, but they did not expect any Python background at all? Pretty much. Yeah. So I'm a tech lead. I am a contributor. I'm an individual contributor, but I am also a tech lead. So thankfully, I don't have to do the people management side of things. I don't really have to do the project management side of things. I'm literally just a lead of the tech, which is quite nice. But yeah, apparently, their mentality is that once you get to a certain point, they kind of accept and understand that languages all just look the same. Controversial statement. I know. But I've been doing this for 16 years now. Languages do all look the same to me. Languages like Go look very, very familiar to me. Thank you, C background. But there are certain things about languages that jazz me now, and it's not usually the normal stuff like for loops and functions and control logic and so on and so forth. What does a tech lead do? Let's see here. So we sit in on business strategy meetings to make sure that where the business wants to go and where the technology is currently going are at least somewhat aligned, a little bit of wiggle room. We sit in on those meetings also to basically give a gut check of how long something would take. So if we are introducing some massive feature, it's basically the job of the tech lead to be like, hey, BT dubs, that's a massive feature. You are not going to get that in a 2-week sprint. That kind of stuff. But let's see here. And this is all relative to a company, by the way. So every company, it seems to have a different definition of what a tech lead is supposed to do. So take that with a grain of salt. Tech leads are also technically decision makers when it comes to which technologies to use in a project. I believe that decision should be democratized to some degree. So you have the organization as a whole, which is probably centering around a tool, for example, Python. So you at least have like some guardrails of the organization is primarily Python. The organization primarily hires Python. The tools that you use should probably be Python unless there's a really good reason not to. A tech lead is usually the one that is presenting that reason why you should use a different tool. But yeah, they are ultimately the people that decide on, say, if your project is going to use GraphQL. That's a technology decision that's typically left at the tech lead. Me as a tech lead, I like to democratize that decision, so I like to gather that from the team. And then tech leads are code reviewers. They ensure that standards and practices are in place. They are occasionally doing POCs for some larger pieces of functionality to prove out whether or not it would make sense for the project that they're working on. They are automating a lot of their job. So like code reviews, quality checks, that kind of stuff. That's something that I'm doing right now. I'm adding most of that into, say, GitHub Actions so that I don't have to do that on every single PR. And then I can literally just scan the code for little things like, hey, we've got this environment variable scattered everywhere. Why don't we centralize it? That kind of stuff. And then finally, and in my opinion, most importantly, tech leads are still in the bloody code. They're still on the ground running. They're still working. They're still building things. They're still there so that they understand what is happening, how their decisions are actually impacting the team. If they're not bloody listening to the team for whatever reason that would happen. Like, to me, a tech lead that doesn't write code is not a tech lead. That's a team lead. That's a people manager. We have gone on a tangent, but I'm honestly like, I'm about to audit a README, so I'm taking a break. What major tools can you even do with Python? Code and simple scripting language? Oh, my dude. You can do so much with Python. It's a very powerful language, I'm not going to lie. It's a heavily optimized language because of how simple the language is. A lot of people want to use it. Therefore, a lot of people make ports for it. Like, yeah, there's a lot there. Oh, interesting. Now that's new. Ooh. I don't have my little trash can icon anymore. Huh. That's cool. Anyway. Let's see here. But why would you use it over C#, C++, Java, Go, Ruby, JavaScript, etc.? Preference. Mostly. I will say that personal opinion, warning, personal opinion. I think that Python's syntax lends itself very well to doing certain things. So like if you compare Python to Java, for example, Python's an interpreted language, although you can get a compiled version, I believe, with some trickery. And I think it's, is it IPython or is it CPython? Can't remember. Versus Java, which eventually turns into a binary. You do have some potential for speed up there. But in terms of like how long it takes you to write the same bloody for loop, I think Python syntax is better. On top of that, it's a dynamically typed language instead of a statically typed language. So in some cases, it basically just gets out of your way, yada, yada, yada. Now, I'll be real. Personally, I prefer statically typed languages like Java, Go, etc. Well, I don't even want to include Java anymore. Java's just for Bose's shit. But yeah, I would say it's preference. Preference, and especially when it comes to data. Like data, there are a ton of processing tools that are written in Python. Like a metric ton. Does that necessarily make Python better than any of the other tools? No, not in my opinion. I just think it makes it more accessible, which I think is why more people grab it. Personal opinion, just saying. I think Python has a place. I think it's very good at what it tries to do. I have seen and experienced far too many Python rewrites. Whenever you hit a level of scale where your services just can't handle it anymore, I've seen too many projects that are conversions from Python to something more statically typed or something more performant, like Go. I can't deny that that Java does have a bit of a performance lead over Python, over standardly written Python. And I've also seen people swap over to it just as like as the code base grows. If you don't really invest in tools like type hints and static analysis and all that fun stuff, the code can get very unwieldy, it seems. So I've been involved in it. Most of my experience came from rewriting Python code, not writing Python. So I would have a Python code base and I could read it. That was always the thing for me. I could always read those Python projects. It was glorious. Oops, excuse me while I smack the microphone like a professional. There we go. But I was always the one that was like rewriting Python code into some other language. Excuse me. So anyway, tangent about Python. I think it's a fantastic language. I think that Python 3 specifically is a fantastic language. It has come a long way from the Python just debauchery that I remember. But now that Python 2 over Python 3 has kind of been a thing, we're in the Python 3 ecosystem, yada yada. As long as they don't do that shit again, like if they don't come out with a Python 4 that's just completely destructive of Python 3, then I'd say Python's in a much better place now. Personally. And yes, Phil, I did. I was confused because I didn't have, like, on my little chat thing, I usually have buttons where it's like delete, purge, and then ban. I didn't have those buttons, so I was panicking. It's like, wait, what is the thing? And then apparently it's just you right click. I can set a timer with this little, I can't show it, I don't think. Or can I? Why not? Here we go. You see this little thing on the bottom? I've got a delete, a purge. I can time them out for a particular amount of time, and then I can just ban them. Weird. And I kind of like it. It's a little bit safer. Yeah. It's still there for you. Interesting. So the new feature has been rolled out, but apparently it doesn't work all that well. Somewhat, Rock. They're getting, that's the thing about checking via text, is that if you have a text filter, human beings are very good at finding ways to get around text filters. But yes, you could get pretty darn close. I had an idea for one such attempt at moderation. There was a thought of like, okay, they're using ASCII characters and Unicode characters. What if we just did a Unicode to ASCII comparison? And then if it was something like want to become famous, and if you see bigfollows.com in the in it, just auto ban. Goal of the bot is to click that link, meaning it cannot be scrambled. Well, that's the thing, is that it's not necessarily giving you a clickable link. It's just giving you a, hey, here's a website, and it's triggering that thought in your brain as a human of, oh, there's a website, maybe I should go to it. It's not an effective campaign, in my opinion, not gonna lie. I think it's a pretty shite campaign, but, you know. And plus, you buy followers, all of a sudden a bunch of followers flood your account. That's very easy to catch. Just saying. Excuse me while I take a vitamin on stream. All right, this is more or less just turned into a technical just chatting, and I kind of like it. Let's see here. Twitch chat, build on stream. Yeah. Subscriptions, bit donations, commands are also extracted from IRC messages. I did want to make that better somehow. Not entirely sure how though yet. All messages sent from the bot to chat are done via IRC priv messages. Pub sub is used for channel points. We're gonna delete that. Cause no, it ain't. Let's see here. Some household stuff to take care of. Welcome back to streaming. Take care. Thank you so much, Rock Raid. I appreciate you being here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Take care, mate. Alrighty. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, by the way, yes, I put on a beanie because my head was being a derp. It's kind of cold in my house at the moment, so I need to fix that. Kind of looks a little silly, not gonna lie. Yeah. Horror. Thank you so much for stopping by, mate. Welcome to the lab. How you doing? Let's see. What do we have? What do we have? What do we have? What do we have? Configuration for the bot can be defined in a config YAML file found in the same directory through the project. In the same directory as the binary / root of the project. There we go. Each feature's configuration can be found in the following sections. Sweet. And then we have message format and templates. Fine, tired as always. How about you? Same. I have been very, very tired these last couple of weeks, but very fulfilled because work is amazing. Sound a little sickly? Yeah. I'm on the tail end of a whatever royally wrecked me yesterday and the day before. Almost over it though. So getting there. At least. Slowly. Making sure that's a thing. Good. Okay. Let's see here. Sender renewed their lab assistant role. Blah blah blah. Commands I did have a to-do for, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Oh, thank you, mate. I appreciate it. We are getting there, slowly but surely. One day, hopefully, maybe. Channel name, subs, if subs, bits, followers, emote stats. Does that need to be, or can it just be emote prefix? I think it should just be emote prefix. Why make it multi-level when we don't need to? Still the question of how they're accessed, but that's something we'll get to at some point. Let's see here. Config without YAML file for more portability. Nah. I was thinking about that. I do recall that I was thinking about that over the last time here. Basically, I think I'm pretty well settled on the idea of using the YAML file for configuration, because using the command line for configuration would just be bloody cumbersome, and I'm not really inclined to go down that path. So I think that for the sake of simplicity, Look how a little warm in here. Yay. For the sake of simplicity and for the fact that it's just already there, and let's just go ahead and have it in config YAML. IRC messages, bits messages. There is something that we are not. There's something that we are not doing right now. Let's see here. Okay, so I want to do a couple of things. Number one, to do, convert some flags to YAML config. And then I also want to env variables. The following env variables are expected by the bot in config, and this is another change that I want to make, env.go. So I have this idea of a config object, and the config object is more or less just an abstraction of the various config locations that we use. So we have environment variables for things that are more secretive, secretive or dynamic, like a Redis URL, a Redis host, Redis port. We have the config YAML, which obviously the config YAML contains most of the channel-based configuration, which I think I'm pretty fine with leaving that as is. I was pondering whether or not I wanted something more dynamic like Streamlabs, but to be honest, no. I don't think that's the type of tool that I really want to build. This will be mostly like you configure it locally, you configure your config locally, and in a transaction. So we can remove that at a bare minimum. But yeah, and then there's also CLI flags. And the thought was that I would probably condense some of the CLI flags. So git add readme, git commit. Let's see here. Clean up readme of unused / won't fix features. Yep. If you all will forgive me, just gonna merge cleaning directly. Git branch -d cleaning. And now we want to do a git checkout -b config. All right. Now we're actually going to write some code with 45 minutes left. So let's take a look here. Oh yeah, there was the admin page. Oh Christ, I forgot about the admin page. Oh, I don't want to deal with that right now. Oh, so we have a lot of stuff there. IRC, ledger, secret. We need to document that. Server, Twitch, Vault, and WebSocket. So what I'm thinking, and we do have the end-to-end test, which I still need to check. Let me double check to make sure that that's all still working. Success, fantastic. So what I was thinking was probably a config package. Make dir -p config. So that would do like so. And then in here we would have config.go. Oh wow, it's auto updating now. Hell yeah, NetRW, let's go. And then in here we could also have env.go, maybe. Package config, type config struct. Oops. And the thought was that I could basically centralize config into this config struct, and then we could have a series of a series of places where we grab config from. So it's effectively a centralization effort for a lot of the Viper stuff, moving that out of here. Channel, I think, is pretty much a must-have. The rest of these flags, I think, could honestly go into the YAML file. What do you guys think? What does the chat feel about this idea? So what it would basically look like is something like this. Let me pull up config. So MedgeLabs, you have a channel ID. I think that was mostly for something else. Nick would be MedgeLabs. Eventually you could change this to like MedgeBot or something of that nature. For all of the features, we could just have an enabled true. It's a little cumbersome, but it's basically opt-in, which would take care of effectively all of these. And then we have a ledger type and a store, which would be one of the ledger types. Now this is technically leaking ledger config into or ledger types into config, but I think that's okay because we control the code. So it would be store is file, or ledger is file. Fuck, what's it? I don't remember. Ledger and store. Ledger is file. Secret store would be env. So what I've effectively done is moved all of the configuration from before that were flags on the CLI and just moved them into config. What that would allow me to do is inside of main.go, I could basically delete all of this. And to Rock's point, we could also have a flag. Config path is a string. I think we can delete most of this. And then flag.string var config path config path to the config.yaml file default current directory. So we could do something like this. We probably still want to have this. And this would be config path error. And that would still work for Unix, which would be fantastic. And all of these would effectively become functions, I think. So what would that look like? What I would like for it to look like is something like this. So if config.greeter enabled, then we do a thing. I think that's kind of the format that I would want to have. So if config.greeter enabled, do a thing. And then we could have some more config stuff that would come out of here. Yes. And then we could basically wrap all of those into functions. It would basically be just writing functions to hide how we get that that detail, but still work. Is there a specific reason that you have your microphone pointed downwards? I found it a little more convenient. So in a nutshell, what I have is I have a, oh, it's kind of hard to see, but I have a boom stand that is connected to the back of my desk. That boom stand basically comes up and over. And then the microphone hangs from the shock mount, and then plug into the microphone from the top. I find that to be a little more convenient than having it the other way around, which I totally could. I could absolutely have the microphone the other way around. I would just have to flip things, I think. But I kind of like the microphone being up here because it leaves like all of this space underneath for typing and coffee purposes. And I think at one point I did try to have the microphone flipped around, but I kept bumping into it. Because I'm a big dumb klutz. I did just realize, though. So I just had a thought. For this, I would effectively grab this stuff. So I would grab the Viper stuff. That would probably go into a func new, returns a config object. And then we did go down this path at some point, I do remember. Klutz life, good life. Config is a viper.viper. Yeah. Okay. So then this was conf equals viper.new. And then we change all of this to be conf. Quick fix that. Config path is a string. Guess we technically don't need, but details. Return config, config equals conf. Something like that. Yeah. Initialize configuration and read from config YAML. That would effectively give us a config instance, which we could then use as a source for a bunch of other functions. Now, this is the part that was giving me pause from earlier. Is that if I change all of this over, so like if I get rid of this and then do a DS, doesn't do anything.
Ah. Well, that's a problem. That's a little bit of a problem. Now, isn't it?
Config equals config.new. Make sure that is indeed the right config. It is indeed. Fantastic. So now config is declared but not used. So what we could do is, as an initial step, that's something else too, is that config is always going to be within the perspective of a channel. So why not have channel and config path? Channel string config path string. And effectively, we're going to keep the channel as a reference for which top level key in the config we have to use. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Config is declared but not used. That's fine. In fact, just to make Go happy for the time being. Sure. Whatever makes you happy, Go. Yeah. Okay. Now. Now. So now the question is, where does all of this config come from? How do I manage all of this? Do I do config.nic? Which would then require me to come over here and have a function on config called nic, which returns a string. And then here, this would be c.config.get string key nic. And func key we'll take a path, return fmt.sprintf, and this would be Christ, we need this on config. C.channel and then path. So this is specifically because we have let's see here, construct valid config keys like channel dot feature dot option. And then this would return c.config c.key. This is becoming a whole thing, not gonna lie. But we are basically abstracting a lot of this. Or at least that's the intention, is to abstract a lot of this. So this is what we were doing previously. So for the Greek key, we basically had to construct this this key of channel.greeter.message format. And then we do a viper.get string. So we're more or less doing the same thing up here now. And c.key is just valid channel-based config keys. It's doing the exact same thing. We just called it key. We called it a function. So here would be Nick returns the nickname to join IRC with. Right? Now, the thing about this, though, is that this is going to get pretty verbose. And I'm trying to decide if that's okay. Because what we're effectively doing is we're hiding the existence of the YAML file. We are also hiding we would be hiding the structure of the YAML file. And if that YAML file structure were to change, I wouldn't really want to change a bunch of files. So there's a part of me that's kind of sort of tempted to leave it as one file. So like this would mean that we would have something like this. So ledger type and secret store. I don't know what happened there, but sure. So we would have func, oh boy, yoink. This would be ledger type. This would be secret store. And it's more or less the same thing. But instead of Nick, it's ledger and a secret store, I think is what I ended up calling it. Yeah. And so now the question becomes, bitstring returns a value associated with the ow. Cast.toString v.get. v.get may return nil, and then I'm assuming that cast to string is if it's nil, then it goes into an empty string. Yeah. Okay. So we could introduce the idea of a required key. Config serves as the centralized place for configuration coming from various sources. Config.yaml, env vars, etc. That last one's going to be a little interesting. Let's add just a to-do here, required key functionality. I would consider things like Nick, Ledger, and Secret Store to be required keys. So if for whatever reason this is not present, then I would want to say, hey, your config is missing. Yeah, we would want to say, hey, your config is missing. BT dubs. Why don't we just do it? Func c config required key. So required key will panic. If the given path does not exist, informing you which key failed. So it's more or less a... but that doesn't really give us the type. Shit. I think that's okay. We have strings and we have numbers, and that's basically it. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that one a little bit more. For context, this idea is kind of coming from something that I typically do in Scala. So in Scala code, when it comes to config, we basically rolled this this object, this rich config object that had two methods, get and get required. Get and get required were basically the same thing with one exception. Get required would grab that key, attempt to parse it into the type that it needed, and then return it. But if that key was not present, or if it was there were some formatting rules that we had on there as well, if any of those failed, then the entire thing would fail. And the idea is that that config object is something that is read on startup. So we don't want the application to be able to start if it has invalid configuration, is kind of the idea. So right now we're kind of sort of enforcing that in main.go. And we could leave it there. So like we could move this up here. And then if config.nic or conf, I'll probably have to call it. Yeah. So conf equals config.new. If conf.nic is empty, then fatal. Nic was empty. Config key Nic was empty. There we go. And that's more or less something that I would think could be encoded inside of the config object. Having it in main is just a lot more explicit, I suppose.
So,
Thank
how
you.
are you holding up?
Oh.
Because I'm a potato.
Oh my goodness. Hello, Splashin'. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome, Raiders. How ya doing?
Oh, good.
Oh my
My
goodness,
slow
and
clap
toaster
processor
pastry with
made
the
it into this
rain.
thing.
Thank you so much, everybody. A quick shout out to Splashin', who is a phenomenally wholesome streamer,
Oh,
and
good.
Space Marine.
My slow clap
Oh my goodness.
processor made it
Thank
into
you,
this
everybody,
thing.
so much for the follows. Welcome to the lab. Digital lab coats will be available upon request. However, we cannot guarantee that they will actually fit because I can't even hear my own alerts right now, so much less make a digital lab coat. But hello, and thank you, Splashin'. Welcome. Sorry, Fuel. I forgot to start the bot. I suck. I'm doing good. How are y'all doing? CD stream, Medgebot, and source. I wonder if it's actually gonna run. RM config env.go, go run, undefined config.nic. Well, hopefully that gives you an idea as to how it's going. It's not. Officer Wolf, thanks so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. How you doing? Medjby having a satisfying voice. Well, thank you. Welcome to the lab, where we are attempting to build a Twitch bot in Go. Oh my goodness. I just started a new job not too long ago. This would have been beginning of January 4th, I think. And I can't remember what I was doing, but in some meeting, the first thing that somebody commented on was the mic setup. It's like, oh my God, are you a podcaster? I get that a lot, like a lot. And and then the very next thing was, do you do voice impressions? It's like, no, I don't do voice impressions. The only voice impression that I can really do is, in a world where code is ruling all, one bot, one stream, one streamer that just can't get it right. Do. And I apologize. I keep sniffling because I am coming off of a bit of a sickness bot. Okay, so what's happening? We got Nick. We got config equals config.new. If conf.nick equals the thing. And then down here, I think it was. Yeah, there it is. Aha. It's not config.nick, it's conf.nick. Ta-da. But yes, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by. Oh my goodness. So we are in the process of me kind of getting reacclimated because I've kind of been MIA for a couple of weeks now. To get reacclimated with the code and to just to kind of get my brain back into working condition. Decided to do a couple of cleanups and work on some code ergonomics. And config was one of the big ones. And despite the fact that it's not the coolest feature, which we will be doing some cooler features here soon. Oh, I forgot to add a work in progress card. Let's see here. Move more stuff to config.yaml. Because why not? And we're going to edit that label. We're going to plop that into MVP3. Gonna lurk for a bit. Good luck with the code. Thank you so much, Splashin'. I appreciate the raid. Hope you have a good lurk. And we'll probably be ending here in a little bit, but so good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you kept Sam in line. I say that purely because every time that I see that I actually get to catch Sam's stream, Sam is always playing something with Splashin', and my immediate assumption is that Splashin' is just kicking ass. Because that's all I ever see her do, is just kick ass. And it's so awesome to watch. So, if you haven't, go give Splashin' a follow. She is a fantastic streamer. Thank you for the hydrated toaster pastry, as well as the stretch. Ooh, toaster pastries. That is something that I have not eaten in years. Nope, that's a lie. That's a lie. I had some last year. That would have been no, October of last year. Yeah. I've kind of rescinded my diet down to a very, very small portion. It's a little nutty. I'm gonna catch up, finish my winter class, and getting ready for Monday for spring semester. Aha! Network server scripting, intro to ethics, server admin beginning, and information security 1. Holy shit, Officer Wolf. You're getting into the meat and potatoes of everything. That is fucking awesome. Excuse my French. But I'm curious, the intro to ethics, is that specifically geared towards ethics and technology? Or is it just like a general kind of ethics class? I asked because we had to take an ethics class as part of our comp sci curriculum. This was, what's it been now? When did I graduate? 13, so 8 years ago? Math, hard. Yeah, sounds about right. But we had to take 2 ethics classes, if I remember correctly. Ethics and technology, and then there was a psychological class. I cannot remember the name of it, but I've beat Portal 2 6 times. Now I'm trying to read that as, is that supposed to be 26, or is that supposed to be a reference that I'm failing at? Which is awkward considering that I have GLaDOS as my alert. the fact that you've beaten Portal once is pretty friggin' fantastic. I don't know that I've ever beaten Portal. Sorcery, if you're still out there, do we ever play Portal together? I feel like we had the idea. I don't remember if we ever played it though. Anyway. Aw, config Nick was empty. Nick was empty. I beg your pardon. Beaten Portal 2 6 times. Sorry. My brain saw two disparate numbers and it tried to smash them together because I am a dunce. Medgelabs.Nick. Yes, would it not be .Nick? .Nick? Professor Robotnik? Yes. Config Nick. It would be c.channel. C.channel Nick.
Yeah.
That's what it should be. So why is it not finding it? What is this bullshit? What is this bullshittery? Medgelabs Nick. God, why do I keep exiting out of Vim accidentally? Oh, wait a minute. That doesn't need to be a thing. Store ENV doesn't need to be a thing, technically. Okay. Okay. Number one, we need to get rid of that. We need to get rid of that. And just do a double DS. That looks okay. So that shouldn't be able to overwrite. And then like that. Nope, still doesn't like it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have done goofed. Stream is sponsored by No. There was a running joke, and I feel kind of bad that we don't do it anymore, but the bloody kettle has tripped my my electrical breaker too many times, and until I get an electrician out to bump that breaker up, I'm afraid to do anything with it. But there's a running joke for a while because I would always do a bit of an infomercial. So it'd be like, ladies and gentlemen, do you feel like you need a little bit of extra kick in your day? Do you feel that you need a little more zen? Do you feel like your day is too busy and you just need to sit back, relax, and enjoy a fresh, organic cup of Japanese matcha? Well, have I got a brand for you? No better organic Japanese matcha is there than the Japanese matcha from our friends at Jade Leaf. And that was just kind of the thing. I mean, I love Jade Leaf matcha. It's delicious. But it kept becoming a theme of like, not sponsored. Like, yeah. But you know what? That's okay. I cannot be sponsored by them as long as that is, and I'll still buy it because it's delicious. All right. So what's happening here? We got our config. We call new. Conf equals viper.new. We're apparently reading config. So is there like a dump option? Because that would be great. I don't think there is. Oh, hello. Yeah, no, it does. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna head out. See you later. Thank you so much for stopping by, Pastry. I appreciate you being here. Have a good night. See you soon. Take care. How much longer do we have? We have 8:50, so we got about 10 minutes. Okay. So I am definitely seeing the config is being read. So that seems okay. Ledger's file. Nick is Medgelabs. I call some bullshit on the bullshit. C.config.getString. C.key. Why not? Let's see here. So key equals C.key Nick. Log.printf. Fetching sent s. Key. Change into here. Key. How's that doing? Fetch. Haha. Hey, chat. You see how I didn't set channel here? Hey, Fuel, you want to try that command now? While I sit here and drink coffee in shame. We might be. Ta-da! Oh, man. Oh, that was a process. That was quite the process. Not gonna lie. Hot damn. So, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is why printline debugging is perfectly valid. Now, did I see that it was fetching Nick twice? Now, why would it be? Oh, no. It was fetching Nick twice because it was referencing it twice. That's fine. Okay. So, I mean, that technically works. So let's go back to main. Ledger type. Secret store type. Ledger type. Conf.ledger. And secret store type. I'm mostly just doing this for backwards compatibility with the existing code. But we are probably going to change that up just a little bit here soon. Ensure valid key. That'll just have to happen inside of config, so we can more or less move this somewhere, I think. Let's just add it into config for now. Oops. Nope. I'm gonna save that. Config.go. We'll say Nick equals c.config.getString key Nick. If Nick equal to blah, then log.fatalf. Fatal. We'll clean this up. Config key Nick not found / empty. And then here we will return Nick. So what we would ideally do is we would have this be a little more condensed. So we would have this logic sitting somewhere else, because we're basically going to do the exact same thing for Nick, for Ledger, and for Secret Store. For now, I think a little bit of copy paste is perfectly fine. S, Nick, Ledger, G, and then yoink, plonk, delete. This would be Ledger, Secret Store. There we go. Ledger returns the desired ledger type, which should match the ledger. Go enum. And then same thing for Secret Store. Secret Store, Secret Store. Why it does that, I have no idea. Returns the desired Secret Store type, which should match the secret enum. Yeah. And do like that. All right. And that will construct a valid feature. We're good. So now we can swap over Nick, Ledger, and Secret Store. We can swap those over to configs, which we already did. Sweet. Good old commands. I love it when a plan comes together. Now let's make sure it's still working. Shit. Flag provided but not defined ledger. Okay. So now we can get rid of store and ledger. And just one more. Cthulhi? Can't type worth a damn, apparently. There we go.
Still working. Hell yeah.
All right. Nice. So that, I think, probably is going to do it for today. So there are a couple of other things that I do want to pull from config. Let's see here. So we've got the Twitch URL, which we can probably change, maybe. We've got config for greeter and expiration time. We've got basically all of the feature flags, the feature enable or disable flags, which we'll want to pull into config. We've got the message format keys, which we'll want to get. So there's a lot of stuff that we're going to want to merge into config. And in order to do that, we're going to end up with a lot of functions in this file. And honestly, I think that's okay. Again, for the time being, it'll be perfectly fine. We can break it down if it gets too unwieldy, but a long file with a collection of short functions to me is a-okay. So, but we are going to leave it there. So let's get our code committed. So this is going to be, let's see here, add config.go to centralize Viper, start with Nick, Ledger, and store. Make sure there's nothing left over. Nope. Origin, config. I could have done a gpush, but I haven't set up them for gpush proper yet, so we'll get to that at some point. But I think that's going to do it for now. Welcome back, everybody. It is so good to be back. I do intend to hopefully stick around this time, now that I'm kind of back into the swing of things. I'll probably do an off hours video to move the rest of config over. So we'll get to that at some point. And then I think hopefully in the next stream we will we'll actually get back to some of the features that we wanted to build. The alert box or the chat box is very high on my priority, so we're gonna look at some of the tickets that we would need to do to enable that. Move more stuff into config YAML. I'm gonna consider this still in progress, but thank you all so much for stopping by. It was great to see everybody again. Stay curious, and I will see you all in the next stream. Take care, everybody.